Hello, welcome to my video on teaching basic to advanced linear equations. So let's start out with the equation and evaluate this. 2x plus 3 is equal to 11. Essentially what we're saying here, or what it is saying, is 2 times the unknown number plus 3 is going to equal 11. But we want to figure out what is this unknown number here. And x is going to be representing that number as a variable. And the one thing that we can't do with x is we can't combine it with any other term unless if it has x in it. So basically that tells us we cannot add 3. This will not equal 5x. So in order to do that, we're going to have to isolate the x onto one side and then bring this term over to the other side to further simplify this equation. In order to do that, we're going to have to subtract 3 from both sides. And the reason why we subtract 3 from both sides is because since we're adding 3, we're going to do the exact opposite, or the inverse property, which is going to be subtraction. So then we're going to have 2x is equal to 8. And then we're going to have the same thing here. Because we see that this is saying 2 times the unknown number equals 8, we could say this is simplified, and this is the simplified, or this more simplified version of this equation over here. Although this is not our answer. We want to get x on its own. But how are we supposed to do that? Well, if we remember what I just said, we need to do the inverse operation of what's happening to x. And since we're multiplying 2 times x, the opposite of multiplying is going to be division. So if we divide both sides by 2, this will cancel out the 2 on this side, and then 8 divided by 2 is going to be our answer, or 4. Okay, let's evaluate this next equation. 6x plus 9 is equal to 3x plus 21. I want you to take a second here and try to solve this on your own. Okay, so in order to solve this, we can see that there's nothing we can do on each side because we can't combine any of these variables because they're both different. So in order to do that, we're going to have to bring x to one side and the constants over to the other side. So if we subtract 3x from both sides, this will cancel out. And if we subtract 9 from both sides, this will cancel out. So 6x minus 3x is going to be 3x. And 21 minus 9 is going to equal 12. And if we do the same thing that we did before, where we just divide by 3, we're going to get x is equal to 4. Okay, so now we have a little bit of a different equation here. We have parentheses. Well, how are we supposed to solve this? Well, it's important that we understand what the parentheses mean here. Well, we can't do anything inside the parentheses, but how do we change this, simplify this side? Well, when we see parentheses and there's no plus or minus, it's basically saying multiplication. So this says 5 times x minus 1 is equal to 2x plus 1. So there's two ways of going about this, but in this case, it's best to distribute the 5 to both sides, or to both numbers. So we're going to do 5 times x is going to be 5x, and 5 times negative 1 is going to be negative 5. And then we're just going to simplify this further by subtracting 2x and adding 5 to both sides, which will cancel out this and cancel out that. Give us 3x plus 6. Dividing that by both x, or 3 by both sides, will give x is equal to 2. Your solution. So if we just have a normal linear equation like this, I want you to try to solve this on your own. Okay, so we just subtract 2x from both sides and 3 from both sides. And we're just going to get 2x is equal to negative 3, divide both sides by 2, and we're going to get x is equal to negative 3 over 2. But how do we know that we did this right? And you can do this for any equation. I know that this one will be a little more simpler than others, but this is something you can do for any equation to make sure that you got the right answer. So if we put the equation back and sub in our answer, x is equal to negative 3 over 2, because if we put in this number into the equation for x, both sides should be equivalent to each other. So first we're going to multiply, and we're going to get negative 12 over 2 plus 3 is equal to negative 6 over 2. And we know that 12 divided by 2 is 6, and I have that negative, so we're going to have negative 6 plus 1, or plus 3, is equal to negative 3. And if we simplify this further, we're going to get negative 3 is equal to negative 3, which is going to make x equal to negative 3 divided by 2, true. And that's how you can prove your solution in a linear equation. Okay, so let's evaluate this equation. Ideally, this might look a little tedious at first, and a little overwhelming, but ideally it's the same stuff we've been working on, just a little bit longer. So we can look at this side. Is there anything we can add on the right side? And we can see that there's nothing to do. But what do we do on the left side? Well, it's important to remember PEMDAS. PEMDAS is going to tell us what order are we supposed to simplify these terms. So first thing, we should look at parentheses. Is there anything we can combine with the parentheses? Well, we can see there's nothing that we can do here, so it's as simplified as it can be. So then let's move down to exponents. Well, we can see there's no exponents here. So then we're going to move down to multiplication, and we can see that we can distribute a 2 here and a negative 3 here. So we're going to get 2x plus 6 minus 6x. And remember, this is negative 3, not a positive 3, so it's going to be negative 3 times 2x. And we're going to get minus 3, and it's still going to be x minus 7. And now we're going to combine like terms. So then we're going to get negative 4x plus 3. And this is still going to be equal to x minus 7. So now we're going to want to bring the x over to the left side, and then the constant 3 over to the right side. So we're going to subtract 3 from both sides, subtract x from both sides, and we're going to get negative 5x is equal to negative 10. And then what are we going to do here? Well, remember, we're just going to divide both sides by negative 5, and then we're just going to get x is equal to 2. Okay, let's evaluate this equation here. 3x plus 6 is equal to 3 times x plus 2. Well, we know that we can distribute this, but first, I would like to take a second and just, let's see if you could just figure out this equation on your own. I'll wait a second. Okay, so, first things, what we want to do is we're going to distribute this to both sides, or we could divide this by 3. Either way works, but let's just distribute this. So we're going to get 3x plus 6 is equal to 3x plus 6. And so we can see this is 3x plus 6 equals to 3x plus 6. They're the same exact thing on both sides. What do we do? Because We get to this moment where we subtract 6 from both sides, and it's going to cancel out this. We subtract 3x from both sides, and it's going to cancel out this and this. So then we're going to get 0 is equal to 0. Well, we don't have an x variable, so what does that mean, essentially? Well, when you get to a point in a linear equation, and both numbers on both sides are the same exact thing, that means there's an infinite possible number of solutions. No matter what number x is, it will always be the same outcome. So let's just say we plugged in 1 for x. And that would make it 3 times 1 plus 6 is equal to 3 times 1 plus 2. All I did here was just make x equal to 1. So what we're going to just do is do 3 times 1, which is 3, plus 6. And then this is going to be 3 times 3. And that's going to equal 9 is equal to 9. And no matter what number you put into x, it's always going to give you the same result with both sides being the same number. You can put in -2, you can put in 10,000, you can put in 0.5. No matter what you do, it will be the same exact answer. And so that's one thing to be aware of when you solve linear equations. Okay, let's evaluate the equation. 4x plus 5 is equal to 4x minus 1. Let's bring the x over to the right side, or the left side, and the constants over to the right side. So let's subtract 4x from both sides, and then let's subtract 5. So then we're going to have this cancel out, and then we're going to have this cancel out, and then we're going to have 0 is equal to -6. But then we get into this issue here. How are we supposed to solve for x when there's no x on either side? And no matter what we do here, we have to bring one of these 4x's to the other side by subtracting 4x. But that's always going to result in them being both canceled out. So in this case here, that means that there's going to be no solution. This equation is not true. 4x plus 5 cannot equal 4x minus 1. No matter what number you put into x, it will never work. So let's just put in 1. So all we did here was just make x equal to 1. This is going to be 4 plus 5, which is going to be 9, and 4 minus 1, which is going to be 3. And we can see that this is not true. 9 does not equal 3. And again, no matter what number you put into x, it will never be true, making this solution have no solutions. And that's something to be aware of when you solve for linear. The different types of now we have a little bit of a different type of equation here. It's fractions. Ideally, we're going to do this the exact same way as we normally solve an equation. So we're going to want to subtract 1/3 because again it cannot add with the 1/2 x. So we're just going to subtract 1/3 from both sides. And we're going to get 1/2 x is equal to 5/6 minus 1/3. But how are we supposed to combine these? Well, we can remember how to subtract fractions. Denominators to be the same, we're going to have to multiply one of these by a giant 1. Because we know that we can make 3 into 6 by multiplying by 2, let's just do that. So if we multiply this by 2 over 2, we're just going to get 5 over 6 minus 2 over 6, which is going to just equal 3/6. So then we can make this equation into 1/2 is equal to 3/6, or 1/2 x is equal to 3/6. But what are we going to do here with a 1/2? We can't just divide it by 2, because this is already saying 1 divided by 2 is equal to x, or 1 divided by 2 times x is equal to 3/6. Dividing it by 2 will not get rid of this 1/2. Well, this is ideally just saying x over 2, x divided by 2. And what is the opposite of division? Multiplication. So if we multiply both sides by 2, it will cancel out this 2 right here. But again, we have to multiply this side. So then we're going to get x is equal to 6 over 6, or 1. Let's evaluate this equation here. I'd like you to take a moment and try to solve this yourself. Okay, so we have 2x minus 5 divided by 3 plus x plus 1 divided by 2 is equal to 5x plus 1 divided by 6 plus 2. Well, what is the first thing we can do here? Well, again, we want to remember PEMDAS. Is there anything we can do in PEMDAS? There isn't. But one thing that we can notice is that this is able to be added. So this is just 8. So this is 5x plus 1 is being divided by 8 right here. But what is the first thing that we want to do? Well, I would focus on this side right here. What is it that we can do? I would add both of these to be able to have the same denominator. So in order for these to have the same denominator, and let's move this to get some more space. We're going to want to multiply both of these by a giant 1 in order to have the same denominator in order for us to add them. So we know that these can both have the same factor of 2. So we've multiplied this by 3 over 3 and this by 2 over 2. And we just do this by any normal equation, so giving us 4x minus 10 over 6 plus 3x plus 3 over 6 is equal to 5x plus 1 over 8. Okay, so now we can just add this straight across. So 4x plus 3x is equal to 7x, and minus 10 plus 3 is equal to negative 7. And then this is just going to have 6 over it. And this is still going to be equal to 5x plus 1. But how are we going to simplify this further? Well, remember, when something is being divided by something, we can just cancel that out by multiplying it by the reciprocal. So we've multiplied both sides by 6. This will cancel out that 6 and this 6, which giving us 7x plus negative 7 is equal to 6 times 5x is going to be 30x, and 1 times 6 is going to be 6, and this is still going to be 8. And then we can do the same thing. We can multiply this by 8 and this by 8. And this is going to be, again, parentheses like this because we're multiplying the whole thing. And this is going to cancel out this 8, and this is going to cancel out this 8. And now we can just do this as a normal linear equation because we simplified this. So if we subtract 30x from both sides, we're going to get 26x minus 56 is equal to 6. And then we can add 56 to both sides. And we're going to get 26x is equal to 62. And then we're going to divide both sides by 26. This is going to give us approximately 2.38. So we can write this. This is something that you're going to need to be used to writing when solving for these equations, is writing the approximate sign. And this is going to be our equation. Or you could write x is equal to, if you want to write it in exact form, as 62 divided by 26. And you could divide this further to be 31 over 13. And that's how you can solve an equation like that.